Should be live. I'm hearing an echo in my headphones, so I'm trying to fix that. Unless if you guys don't hear an echo, I'll deal with it. I'm just checking to see if that's just me or not. And if you guys are out there, anybody's out there, just drop in the chat, give me a quick thumbs up. And if you're hearing the echo, that's what I'm working on fixing. But like I said, if you're not hearing an echo, let me know and I will just continue with the stream, because I'm not going to worry about an echo in my own headphones. Okay, so that's what I'm working on until I see anything else in the chat here, guys. Is just trying to get this echo fixed that I hear in my headphones. Hopefully everybody is having a good Sunday. And if there's any dads out there, happy Father's Day. And I still haven't fixed this echo problem. That is annoying. All right, so just in my system settings here, guys. Maybe that'll fix it. Nope. Didn't do a thing. Of course not. Okay. Well, let me just phone a friend here and see if anybody's checking in. Ask my wife if she can hear echo, and then I'll cut this out in the replay. Hey, Tom. Happy Father's Day. Thank you for that. And if you hear an echo, will you please let me know? I've got an echo in my headphones, and I'm trying to decide if that's just me or if that's on your guys' end as well, because do not want an echo if I can help it. Right, monitor off. Don't hear an echo. Okay, then it's just my headphones, and I'll deal with it. I don't mind. All right, thank you for that, Tom. I appreciate it. And we'll go ahead and get started. So anybody joins in, like I said, I'll chop off the beginning of this in the replay for the echo part of it. But happy Sunday again, and happy Father's Day again, anybody that's out there. So today's stream, I wanted to try to accomplish a couple of things. The first thing I want to do, thank you, David, and hello, David. First thing I want to do is kind of lay out when I'm looking different ways, have my TV up here with a big screen for looking at the chat, and then my chat down here in the laptop, and of course you guys in front of me, so you see me looking which way, you'll know why. But like I said, I want to talk about the Lyric 2 again, a little bit of a revisit since my review of them. And then I also have another product here. This is the new Astell Kern SP3000T DAP that unfortunately I'm not going to do a video or a review on this, but I do want to talk about it at least. And so I'll probably put that in the description of this afterwards, so you guys know if you want to check out my thoughts on this. I've had it for a couple of weeks now from Audio 46, so I'll get to that here in a bit. And then that's going to segue me in to talk about something else that kind of goes along with why I'm not doing the video for that DAP. So yeah, so let's start with the Lyric 2. So if you guys had watched my original video on the Lyric 2, you would know that I wasn't blown away by it. And honestly, it came to one reason only, and that was seal. Seal, fit, whatever way you want to call it. It was comfortable. I just obviously got no seal. I was one of the only reviews that I saw, at least, where I talked about bass response lacking, where I talked about no impact into my audio and dynamics. And after I did my video, I started watching others' impressions on that, because I don't ever do that beforehand. And I was like, wow, I'm like really the only one that has found this, other than some people saying that if you wear glasses, that was breaking their seal too. So there was that. Uh, yeah, the SP3000T, Matthew, hello, by the way. The SP3000T, that is a $3,000 DAP. So yes, it is a fair chunk of change, just as you said. So, but yeah, so like I said, I didn't get a seal with the headphone, and when I reached out to Meze about it, and I kind of, after I did the video, apologized to him because they said, I couldn't get a seal with them, and I said, I looked into other reviews and found out that I was kind of the lone wolf on that, but something tells me they probably have heard that from some others, because they definitely took that feedback into account. They wanted to know more about that, and they offered to send me out a second pair to check out afterwards, which is really cool of them to do that, because they could have just said, well, you're an anomaly and we're going to move on, but they didn't. So I appreciate that from Meze. So here's what I'll tell you. I'm kind of rambling. Here's what I'll tell you is that during my video of the Liric 2, during my impression time with that headphone, I tried all different things. I tried positioning it like this, up here. I tried making it really tight on my head, really loose on my head, and nothing was really working. There were moments where I would get extra bass, extra impact, but it never lasted. And so that's why I did the video that way, because I'm going off of my consistent impressions of the headphone. And I tried with all different gear. It just did not matter. However, with this set, and there is no unit variation, at least for the two sets that I've had. With this set though, I have figured it out, and I've got a seal, and I actually reached out to a couple of my friends that have listened to this to get some advice from them, and on the Head5 forums, I got some advice. So, show you. On this headphone, the slider on here is pretty tight. I do believe it was a little tighter on, I believe it was the Meze Elite, but I could be wrong which other headphone from Meze that it was a tighter slide. But so I have to put this slider down pretty far, and then when I position them on my head, the pads, which is kind of hard to, well, you won't be able to see it, but the pads, like right here where my finger is, my earlobe is basically resting right above that. And these are very tight to the top of my head here. Now, this doesn't hurt. It's not anything like that. It's just not comfortable. But I know when I'm getting a good seal, because like I said, my earlobes are at the bottom of this headphone there, and it just doesn't feel like it's resting right in my head. But when I played music like this, there was the bass, there was the impact, and quite honestly, if this headphone was more comfort fitting for me, there are times where I definitely would choose this over the E3. And pointing that way, the E3 is behind me. I'm actually going to show you guys something here soon. Because the E3 is a fantastic closed-back headphone, but there are times I feel like it lacks a little bit in impact. It's Dan Clark. That's kind of what their headphones can be known for at times. It's better. It's much better. But this is even better than that when I get the right seal. The bass impact, the slam, just the fullness of bass got so much better with a proper seal on this headphone. But unfortunately, even as I'm talking to you guys right now, I can already tell these have slipped a little bit. So that's what I'm saying. You kind of understand now what I'm getting at and why they don't work for me, because over time they'll slip, bass impact becomes less and less, and I'll have to either try to adjust them on my head, which you can do that, it's not that hard to do, or take them off my head and readjust because I know what position works. And so that's what I reached out to Meze about, and I told them, I will do a live stream. I'm not going to do a follow-up video on this. I didn't feel the need to, but that's why I want to talk about it on a live, just to at least say, Meze, yes, your headphones do sound excellent for the people that can have them fit them correctly. My ears are on the bigger side as far as longer goes, so I'm sure that's part of it. And I'm sure a big part of it is where, the headphones firing into that part of your ears, because that makes a big difference on sound as well and impact as well when you're wearing headphones. That's why it's a more difficult thing to do with headphones than with IEMs. I mean, I get that. So now the other part of that could be the fact that the pads on the Lyric 2 are pretty consistent around. I mean, there's no angle to these or anything, so they just kind of rest how they do. But, you know, and I said this in my video, it's this spring factor on this headphone, I still say is too much. Like, it's hard to kind of show you because they automatically want to just boink, spring together. But, you know, when you push on the top, it just automatically springs back down to the bottom. And that creates this breakage of seal. When I wear them comfortably on my ears, they pop just enough at the top here to where I lose bass response. It's not gone. I still got bass out of it. It's just not as impactful as I said. So that's where I feel like Meze should hopefully take some notes on this, because I can't imagine I'm the only one that's ever going to have this issue, but might be the only one that's bought these that has this issue so far. Is I've scoured forums. I haven't seen a lot of other people talking about this unless they're wearing glasses. But I feel like they could fix this simply just by making the spring mechanism either not so tight, or I don't know if they can make it like just something that is going to stay in place, because these just don't want to stay in place. I wish I had a headphone. Actually, I can grab a headphone stand. But they don't stay in place. It's a beautiful headphone. It's a beautiful build. It's Meze. That's kind of what they're known for. But, and I know Meze told me that this is the same as the Lyric 1, and I believe them. I don't think they're lying about that. But I didn't have this issue with the Lyric OG that I do with this one. And I don't know if maybe the set that I had when I did my review of the Lyric 1, maybe those were more broken in. Maybe the spring wasn't quite, because I don't remember the spring being this just fierce bounce back nature of it as the Lyric 1. But like I said, over time, maybe that kind of goes away. Softer pads. Yeah, I don't know. And that's true about staging and width. Yeah, I don't know if softer pads would work. I mean, I do like that they're magnetic and come off so easy, because, yeah, I mean, swapping the pads. And if they do an angled pad, I really want to try these if they do an angled pad. I don't know what that would do to the sound, but I do think if they angled these in a way for where, you know, they kind of break away from your head, maybe that's the, I don't know if that becomes the thicker part. That could possibly help as well for people like me. But what I wanted to show you guys is just, like I said, even on a headphone stand, like these just, they don't stay in place. You know, they swivel around. It's just, I don't know. I'm being nitpicky, I guess, but it's just been something that's bothered me about the Lyric 2. I'll continue to wear them just to wear them. But yeah, I mean, it's an unfortunate thing, and it's the reason why I wouldn't choose the Lyric 2. And what I wanted to show you guys with, for instance, something like the E3, the reason why I don't have any issue with the E3, I mean, I could hold up the Lyric 2 again and show you, but these pads are so much wider on the E3 and just fit so much better. And there is an angle on these as well. And I do think angled pads definitely assist with seal, fit, comfort, all that stuff, because a lot of companies I found are doing angles either on the pads or angles, you know, inside of the headphone cups, such as the new 620S from Sennheiser. That's got a nice angle to it. It does assist, I think, with closebacks on giving you more openness in the headphones to give you some staging. That's what this one does really well. I still prefer this one for its staging capabilities over the Lyric 2. But like I said, it's a shame. It's a shame, but I'm also impressed and thankful that Meze cared enough to, you know, take notes, and they've actually passed this on to their R&D team to see if they can do something in the future for, you know, the clampiness of this or the tilt of this, you know, somewhere around there. I don't know if that becomes a Lyric 3 or, like I said, something they could fix with alternate pads, maybe some kind of modification they could do. Yeah, hybrid pad. I mean, I do think pads could be the fix to the problem for me, is just some, like you said, some type of a hybrid pad or an angled pad. You know, I don't think they have to go back to the drawing board for one person on this headphone. It would also, like I said, be nice if they just weren't so thin on the inside, but they're not probably going to be able to fix that because the cups themselves are not exactly super wide. So you'd have to be careful on something like that. But yeah, I mean, that was the main thing I wanted to do, was to talk about the Lyric 2 and just to at least admit that, yes, these do sound excellent when you can get an excellent seal. And my video of them was not so positive, but I can only report on what I can hear and what I can consistently hear with that. So I can move on from that, from talking about the Lyric 2. If anybody pops in and has any other questions or comments or anything about them, feel free by any means to chime into the chat, and I'll go back to it. I guess the one last thing I would say about these is, as far as drivability goes as well, these are definitely, I think they're 60 ohms, but these are still easier to drive than the Dan Clark E3 are for sure as well. And I think that's another thing that is going to help the sale of this headphone over something like that from a portability standpoint, because you really should have a proper, or at least a better power source for the E3 to get more out of them, more so than what you would need for the Lyric 2. So it's a shame. They sound great when I got the seal. And by the way, I should probably mention that was pretty much on any amp I plugged them into as well. It wasn't like the E3 where certain amps just made it more robust. No, this one actually, when I got a good seal on it, I was picking that up on almost everything I plugged them into. Even the Magni Unity, DAC amp combo, simple device, my dongle DAP. You guys would understand what I'm saying. My dongle solutions worked fine. This thing definitely worked incredibly well as well. And let's segue and go ahead and talk about this beast of a DAP, which I say beast of a DAP. One of the reasons I'm not going to do a video on this is, I'll be honest, guys, I don't own any DAPs. I don't have a ton of experience with them, except for when I've gone to Can Jam or meetups and other people have had them available. So that's about my experience with them. So doing a video on something like this, I feel like is more beneficial if I have something to compare it to other than just the video on the SP3000T. By the way, this is the Astell Kern SP3000T. Tyler, what's going on? Happy Father's Day, man. But yeah, this is the newest one for Astell Kerns. I believe they have an SP3000 and then this one. And I thought at one point the SP3000 was actually more expensive than this one. And I don't know necessarily why, because this one actually has tubes inside, which I believe is why they call it the 3000T. And again, I could be wrong on that. I'm going to turn this on really quick so I can talk about some of the features on this. So it is a little intimidating as well to see all the features on something like this. Don't get me wrong, I would have covered it just fine in a video. It would have taken me a little bit longer, but I mean, Bluetooth headphones, I feel like with apps nowadays, is about the same deal when it comes to all the ins and outs of them. But it's a cool DAP. Funny enough, Audio 46 sent me a pair of white gloves to go with this because, touch screen, and the back of this where the tubes are is glass as well. So yeah, I mean, fingerprints all over this thing, and shooting B-roll would have been just a ton of fun. So let me show you really quick. That's the back of it, and let me hide my eyes there. It's not going to focus in. Focus. There we go. So that's the back if you have the tube mode engaged. That's pretty cool. I like that. You see the tubes glowing right through. And then if you actually turn off and go into op amp mode, it turns off. So you'll know whether or not you're using that. But this also has a hybrid tube mode where, just like it sounds, it's got a mixture of the op and tubes for hybrid. So those are one of the quick things I can tell you about this device, is that the amplifier inside is basically 3 different types of amplifier, whether it's op amp, hybrid, or tube. And then you can, when you're in hybrid mode, you can change the levels from 1 to 5. I don't know if you can see that. It's probably not going to, well, kind of. It changes from 1 to 5 there on the level of hybrid mode that you put on. It does the same thing in tube mode as well. No, it doesn't. I'm sorry. Only does that in hybrid mode, and that's actually a tube current as well. that's below that, which, stop being blurry. There we go. So you'll see that check mark there. It's on low right now, and you can change that to medium and high. Now, obviously, when you're an op amp, all of that goes away. So that's the one first really cool thing about this device is the tube part of it. Then, of course, it has, pretty typical for something, but it's got a digital audio remaster that you can toggle on or off. You can do a max PCM rate of up to 384 kilohertz, or you can do a max DSD rate up to 12.2 million hertz. So that's DSD for you right there on that whole thing. So it's got that mode, or you can just toggle it off and just go straight with whatever source that you're using there. It's got Bluetooth. Don't need to say much on that. It's got Wi-Fi. Don't need to say much on that. It's got an EQ, but as far as I know, and I'll be honest, I haven't messed a ton with the EQ. It does have 3 presets, and then you can go ahead and do like your own new preset, and you can obviously program an EQ. There's a lot of bands there that you can go through when you're programming that. I really like that part of it. Didn't use it, but if I would have, you know, that's been something I would have dug into. And then the Astell Kern just whole software setup here within, it's got an AK Connect mode for their own pairing of different devices. It's got you know, services there that you can download with Tidal and other streaming services and things, Rune, of course, stuff like that. It is Rune ready. There's a toggle on that for Rune ready, the EQ, the amp, and then there's a DAC filter, which this is nothing abnormal from even dongle DACs nowadays, but there are a lot of options on this thing for the DAC filter. I'll tell you here in a second if you guys want to see that. But this has sharp roll off, slow roll off, short delay, sharp roll off, short delay, slow roll off, super slow roll off, and low dispersion short delay. Now, the DAC filter is applied only in 24-bit 192 kilohertz or less PCM format, and it is not in MQA and DSD formats. So, something interesting to note there. And then any kind of services that you have installed, there's a tab you can click on there. Focus, 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 come on. There's a tab you can click on there, and it'll show you what you have installed and what you've downloaded. I obviously have Tidal on that. Now this has Tidal built into it, but I didn't care for the Tidal player that was built into it. It didn't have all the options I have for normal Tidal, so I went ahead and downloaded Tidal, and then I was opened up to, you know, like the radio functions and a lot of different things you can get with Tidal. You can also download Spotify, Amazon Music, there's Qobuz, Move, Deezer, Apple Music Classic. I could go on and on. There's lots of different, they even have a Gboard for the Google keyboard if you want to download that and use it for the DAP. But it's a really cool DAP, and I have had some fun using this. Whether it's headphones or IM's a good seal. Yes. Yep. 100%, David. 100%. So the other reason I'm really not going to do a video on this, couple things. I've got a couple of projects I'm working on that I'm really going to have to put this on the back burner, and I didn't want to hang on to it for that long since Audio 46 was so nice to send it out to me. So I want to get this back to them. And the projects I can't talk about, but one of them I'm really excited about. You'll find out here in a couple of weeks. But also, I don't have a ton of FLAC files, okay? I listen to a lot of my music streaming through Tidal, and, you know, I've got old files and things that I've ripped from CDs that I own, but as far as like true DSD and things like that, I just don't have a lot. And I feel like that's where a device like this really comes in handy and really makes a lot of sense. Also, I'm not an on-the-go type person with my music listening as much. You know, my job is not a job that I can just listen to music, so I don't. So I don't ever take any listening devices with me to my job. And then when I'm at home, I'm at my desk. Or I might be downstairs with my kids, and if that's the case, I've got my phone and I've got a dongle DAC to plug into that if I want to listen. So water today. So if I'm downstairs doing that, like I said, I tried using this and, you know, having like this in my phone just kind of sitting there so I could still see what's going on and listen to music. It was all right, but it's a little clunky for me. And, you know, I've got Tidal on my phone and all that stuff. Now I get the benefits of this with having the built-in DAC, the built-in amp, the fact that it can do DSD up to 512 or whatever the heck number it is. And the fact that it's got balanced, unbalanced, it's even got, you know, the capabilities of going out to another amp, charge and play with the USB-C charge. It's at the bottom. So yes, I do see all the benefits of a DAP. I just don't think in this current state that I'm in with my audio journey, a DAP makes a lot of sense for me. But that shouldn't stop me from doing a video review or anything for you guys. So that's why I said it's more about me getting more time with DAPs so I can give you some comparisons like, hey, this sounded great compared to this other one. Here's the other probably, I don't want to say controversial, but thing that I have to admit, I wasn't wowed by the sound of this. Like when I I bought the iBASSO DC Elite because when I plugged that into my phone and used it with headphones and IMs, I was like, wow, this has such a big, full sound to it. I was impressed and, you know, instant impact of sound. When I plugged in, you know, the closed Caldera that I'm going to soon be doing a video on that's sitting behind me, when I plugged that into this, it sounded good. When I plugged in my other headphones, sounded good. When I plugged in IEMs to this, sounded good, but nothing was just like, oh, I haven't heard that from before from my headphones. I guess that's what I'm talking about. So there's nothing bad about the sound quality of this. And I did play around with hybrid. I did play around with tube. I did play around with op amp. I found that some IEMs I actually did prefer op amp over the tubes, which, you know, kind of makes sense with what tubes can do. But yeah, I mean, even going through the different filters on this with sharp roll off, slow roll off. Now I get it, depends if you're playing MQA or not. I didn't notice a ton of difference. Even going through the levels of the tube, I didn't notice a ton of difference to that. It's one of those things that it's kind of like my recent finding with cables when I did my Elitech cable video, and that I actually heard a difference. And, you know, still can't believe I'm saying that. It took time. And you have to almost listen a certain way for so long and then switch to something else to really pick up that difference. And that's what I feel like with the different modes of hybrid going from 1 to 5 or low, medium, and high. There's just so many options on there. It would take a while to truly, you know, get an idea of what each one sounds like. And that's where I say, like, average user, which is all of us, you know, listening to audio. I don't know how much we'd pick up on that right away. And it's going to depend on the track that you're listening to, too. It's going to depend on the quality of music that you're listening to, genre, all of that stuff goes into it to where I just did not pick that up right away. So the other thing I'll tell you is the volume knob in this. I really like the volume knob. When you change it, you see this little level going up or down, and this goes high, so don't worry that it says 90 because it goes up to 150 on the volume, so that's a little bit different on that. There is also a pretty neat feature that you can do different VU meters on it. So there's one, and you can kind of scroll through the different VU meters of whatever you'd like if you think that's a cool aesthetic and just want to have that up when you're listening. So I thought that was cool. The light on the dial will glow a different color depending on the quality of file that you're playing. Don't think, well, might pick that up. So, you know, that's unique to this as well. Not unique, I should say, because other things do that, but a nice feature that it has, you know, a lot of things like that. And then on the side where this case is, there's no way you're going to be able to pick this up. There's actually little markings here because there are things on the side here to play and pause your music, skip track, and go to different modes. That's my one gripe on this entire unit with the case is you didn't like think to make those markings in a different color, because I can't see that. And I'm sure you guys can't see that even if it's not blurred, which is going to stay blurred. There it goes. yeah, it's hard to see. So yeah, I don't think that was a really good choice. They should have made that like black or something on the outside, because people could pick that up, or at least an off color of this, you know, yellowish mustard yellow case that it is. What was my favorite? Honestly, I think my favorite was this one here. Don't ask me why. Well, you can ask me why. I think it kind of reminds me of just like a sports car or something. I thought that was pretty cool. Now, the classic, I would say, would be my probably equal to second favorite. Just love the classic VU meter mode. So, nice little added feature. I'm going to power this down. So, yeah, this is the SP3000T, and it is $3,000. That's a lot of money for a DAP. But if you have a very large music collection, I believe, actually, I don't want to say that. I don't remember the exact amount of storage space in this. It's either 256 or 512 gigabytes. So there's a lot of space in this to store music. But, you know, that's a really nice feature of this. And just, you know, like I said, being able to take your stuff on the go. It's heavy, but a lot of the DAPs that I've even, you know, had experience with at Can Jam and things are heavy. So I don't know if necessarily that's anything different from other DAPs that people would see. It's got a robust build. You know, it's solid, even with this case off of it, which I'm not gonna. You know, maybe I can take the case off so you guys can see it. Why not? Fingerprints be damned, because I am not shooting B-roll for this. Yeah, it is a tight fit, which is a good thing. So yeah, it's all silver on the outsides there. So it shows up fingerprints too. And then you see the buttons and connections up top there. Like I said, the USB-C charge is at the bottom, and there is the slot for the SD card, which I failed to mention. So you can do an SD card there to upgrade your storage. And yeah, really shiny with the glass, but holy cow, does this thing pick up fingerprints. And it's also, I guess, that's probably another, I don't know if I should call that a gripe. This is sharp. Like these corners here, that actually could probably, I'm trying to stab myself. I know that could hurt, especially if you dropped it. So we definitely want to keep it in the case just for that reason alone. The tubes do make it warm to the touch, yes. It takes a little bit of time, but when I've had this sitting out playing for a while, yeah, it definitely warms up. It also, charge-wise, I guess I didn't talk about that. I think it takes about 3.5 hours to charge this to max, and I do find that battery draining pretty quickly when I'm using tube mode, especially higher, especially when I was plugging in the Caldera closed or any kind of other, you know, somewhat more demanding headphone plugging into this. It seemed to drain the battery a little bit faster. Nothing like crazy fast, but just a little bit faster. But again, you can just plug this in to leave it, you know, charging while you're using it if you choose to do that. And it seems like it would last long enough. I think I was listening for maybe 2 hours and the battery was at like 80% when I was done. That gives you kind of a general rough idea. So I don't think the battery was anything I would rate negatively with this DAP. So, but it is a fun device if you're into DAPs. So color, it's kind of that mustard yellow color, so it does look cool with the black. I guess I'll give it that, but I wouldn't choose yellow. But it's also not the worst thing in the world I've seen. The new Hi-Fi Men Sesvara for $8,000 has the ugliest pads and combination of colors I've seen. And I'm going to get to see that one in person here soon, because I will be listening to that and doing a review for it for launch, which I am super excited about, but not necessarily excited for how ugly that thing looks. But I get it. It's not all about that. So I guess I'll talk about that really quick, and then I'll transition into one other topic I want to talk about, trying to keep the stream just to an hour since it is Father's Day and a Sunday. So I am going to get the new Sesvara in. I just said that Audio 46 is going to send that out to me, which is awesome. I cannot wait to get that one in and check out and listen to. And I've got a couple of amplifiers that will do just fine with the Sesvara, so I'm not worried about that. And I've also heard the new Sesvara isn't quite as hard to drive as the OG version, so that's good. but still, I'm going to be perfectly fine when it comes to powering it. My issue is that I have never had enough time with an OG Susvara. So, if anybody out there would care to lend one, and that's a lot of money, I get it. So if you don't, I understand. I'd love to be able to spend some time with the OG Susvara just to have a base point to say, hey, compared to this, this is how it sounds. But if not, it's not the end of the world. I'm obviously going to talk about the new Susvara and what I think about it, and let you guys know, obviously, when I do the video for it. The time that I've had with the OG Susvara has been just at Can Jam, and to be honest, that headphone is like my nemesis, because both times I tried to listen to it, the first time the volume dropped out on the amplifier it was plugged into at the Hi-Fi Man booth, and I think they had power issues that day. It was a couple of years ago. And then last year at SoCal Can Jam, or was it New York this year? Either way, I listened to a Susvara again on a Mascoba and could not get the Wi-Fi to connect every single time I tried listening to it. So I've had 2 failed attempts to listen to an OG Susvara, and I have 0 impressions on that headphone. Obviously, I know it's loved by many people. I understand, but I would love to be able to hear for myself what I think of it so that I can do somewhat of a comparison to the new one, but if I can't, I can't. I do know that the new one, and you guys can correct me on this, I do believe it's more expensive than the OG came out, because I know the new one's coming out at $8 grand. But again, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that with the OG version. So I do think the OG version looks nicer than this new one. I just don't know what exactly they were thinking when they designed the new Susvara. But again, that's a very subjective thing, and that's my own subjective opinion on the new headphone. But that's one thing, if you guys want to know, that I'll be working on. I can tell you that I'll be working on that one. And then, like I said, the closed caldera is something else. I also have the Cayin HA-3A coming in soon. The original unit that I had, unfortunately, had an issue and I had to send it right back. So they're working on getting me another one out so that I can do a comparison of the IHA-8 to the IHA-6, both for your benefit and my own. Because honestly, I'm considering possibly upgrading to it myself if it is truly an upgrade, in my opinion, for the IHA-8. So the other thing that I want to talk about, and the reason why I've also kind of steered away from doing any kind of a video on this DAP yet, is the age-old debate of DSD PCM versus CD quality. I watched a video, and I wish I would have wrote the channel name down, of the guy that I watched last week, like a 6 or 7 minute video about how he swears by CDs and thinks anybody else is crazy that gets into this DSD and all of that stuff, and how the human hearing cannot even hear over CD quality. And believe me, there's, as you guys know, there's lots and lots of debate. And I'm not dipping my waters into picking a side. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying that as somebody that doesn't have a lot of FLAC files, and as somebody that hasn't, purchased DSD files like that, and I do have a website bookmarked so that I can hopefully pick out, some type of an album here soon that I can download, pay for, and at least try out the high version of a DSD to see if I hear a difference. That's kind of the other reason, because my Bifrost 264 DAC that I have, just a couple weeks ago, I was thinking about it. I plugged in some stuff and I was like, wait, this DAC only goes to 192 kilohertz and 24-bit only. And I got to thinking after that, with all these dongle DACs and new devices I've listened to recently, like I said, the iBASSO DC Elite goes up to 512 DSD and 784 kilohertz, whatever it is, on the PCM. And then, the CMA that I just did from Questyle, that one goes way high and up there, and pretty much all the newer devices seem to. Schiit is standing by and doing their thing and saying, 192 is all you need. And I think they're on that side of that whole conversation. I'm not trying to speak for them. I'm just saying based off of their products and what they have, because I think even their high-end DACs past the Bifrost don't even go over 192. And so it really makes you wonder, do you need it? you know, a lot of the stuff is it just numbers, and high numbers means better because it does or doesn't? Do you hear the difference? I was talking with a buddy of mine the other day who swears by streamers and having everything in his house. And, you know, he really honestly has gotten me interested in getting a streamer for myself because of, again, DSD and all that stuff that you can do. And then, you know, that's where Rune comes in handy, or the HQ player, I believe it's called, comes in handy to, you know, be able to play those files. But that is a whole separate rabbit hole. That's not even, like, there's headphone enthusiasts, there's speaker enthusiasts, there's IM enthusiasts, audio enthusiasts, and then there's, I feel like, the CD and DSD crowd and the vinyl crowd. I mean, there's so many different rabbit holes in this hobby. That's just one that I've kind of stayed away from, because for me, listening to headphones and listening to my gear is so much enjoyment, and I can stream it from Tidal and I'm good. I don't feel like I'm missing out, you know, that whole fear of missing out, FOMO, right? Of what it's called. I'm good. You know, it's not a rabbit hole I want to go down. I actually downloaded Rune. I did their free trial. I set it all up, and then I uninstalled it like 10 minutes later because I just didn't want to do it. I was like, no, I'm happy with what I have right now. I get it. You know, one of the arguments the guy made the other day that I was listening to said that, you know, he swears by CDs because he likes the, you know, he likes the physical nature of it, of having his CD, and that's his. And if he stops subscribing to a service, he suddenly loses all that music, where if you have a CD, you never lose that. I 100% get that. And that's, I loved collecting CDs when I grew up for that reason. Tapes, cassette tapes, as well, way back in the day. And I've gotten into vinyl now. So, but vinyl to me is not something I'm getting to listen to headphones. Vinyl's for listening to, you know, a simple bookshelf speaker setup just to have some fun listening to vinyl. But I get the collection nature of it, because there's just something about getting that vinyl in and unwrapping the cellophane and seeing the book and, you know, all the stuff that's included with it. That is, you can't get that with digital. Sorry, you just can't. And so I understand that part of it. Matthew, hello. Some people hear differently. Maybe like people not seeing higher frame rates. Yeah, I mean, that's very true. But my debate on that, and it's my internal debate, I'm not saying anything against it that I personally experienced, but my debate on that is kind of the same thing with a lot of this stuff in audio. We see a higher number, so are we just telling our brains, like, I should be hearing better quality? So of course it's better quality. Because one of the questions I asked one of my buddies was when he said, yeah, I definitely can hear the difference of, you know, a high DSD track compared to, you know, a CD quality or something. Well, if it's not mastered in DSD, it's just going through compression just like anything else. Are you just hearing louder volume? That's my question, because I definitely can tell that, especially when I'm streaming on Tidal. Some of the high-res FLAC files and things that are streaming through there, they're just louder. That's why you have that normalize audio feature, which I don't ever use because I just don't want to mess with more compression. But that's where I feel like some of that compression comes into place, and sometimes it can just be perceived as louder, but is it necessarily more details? Is there other nuances to it that you're going to get by going through that process? Many LPCDs try to get close to the vinyl experience. Yeah, Tom, good point there as well. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the whole vinyl thing, I completely get. CD thing, I get it too. I'm not a huge CD fan. Even when I was collecting CDs, you know, I never became a huge fan of collecting CDs. Don't ask me why, just something with it. But vinyl, I get. I don't know. It's just something different with vinyl, which is why I'm comfortable using streaming services and downloading the files. And don't get me wrong, I've purchased albums digitally. I probably have people throwing stuff at me, but I've done that. So, I mean, I do have lots of files that I own, or lots of albums that I own that I did actually reach out and purchase. They're just not on a physical copy. So, you know, like I said, compression and all that is a much bigger topic than I'm prepared to talk about, because quite honestly, I'm ignorant with that. I have read dabbles of things here and there. I've read one side of the story. I've read the other side of the story, and it's one of those things, it's like, who do you trust? you know, that's where people got to form their own opinions. And that's what I would rather do, is get some time here at some point to actually experience it for myself and then see if I can form my own opinions. Because, you know, you have the source, but then you got to consider the DAC, the headphone, and all those other things in that mixture before you could decide, you know, whether you're truly hearing a top quality or not. Normal volume normally is negative dB preamp on the digital side. Doesn't add compression. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying you're right, or I'm not saying you're wrong. I just have never really wanted to mess with volume or normalization. Just, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not saying you're wrong at all. It's just something I don't mess with. I just change the volume on my, you know, amplifier or whatever when I'm sitting there. I guess that would be the one thing, like with a device like this, once again, where normalization I could see come in handy, because if I want to just keep this in my pocket or my phone in my pocket while I'm listening to music, last thing I want to do is have to constantly mess with the volume knob. But I'm in a situation at home where doing that doesn't bother me at all. I'm constantly changing volume on stuff in my situation that I'm in. So that is a good point. All right, so I am at the 50-minute mark almost, and that's why I said these were kind of some shorter topics today to keep it shorter. But if anything else pops up you guys want to discuss in the chat, feel free to do so. But that's kind of the main things that, like I said, I was going to talk about. And as I do get further into this whole DSD to CD things, don't know if I'll necessarily do a video. It might be another possible stream or something that I'll set up. This would be a fun one to talk about with Tyler or somebody else, just to, you know, Tyler can't join for some reason, just because I think it is a fun discussion to have and a fun, you know, debate to have, because there's lots to that. Yes, sorry, Isidoro, hope I said that right. If I didn't, I apologize. But yes, better seal this time. So I'll recap that again. Better seal, not better comfort. So basically, I've got to wear this really tight on the top of my head. My earlobes at the bottom are almost to the bottom of the cup. Problem I have is it slips over time, over short time, honestly, and I'll lose my seal again. So this headphone's just not made for me. I like the sound quality of it with the better seal, and I do think Meze's made a good headphone. I'm sure this is going to fit probably most people. I seem to be an outlier on that, but I can also say that Meze's taken some notes on it. And we've talked about a little bit earlier that possibly, you know, a pad change, whether it's suede, or I was even suggesting, you know, maybe angled pads if they do that, so that that whole issue with the spring might create a better seal for you. It's possible. So that was kind of my recap of the Liric 2. So, okay, guys, I might actually end this under an hour, unless we have something else that pops up. I'll give you guys a minute or two here while I take a drink and just make sure there wasn't anything I missed in my notes here. Actually, there was something else I was going to bring up before I ended this, and this is good for the recap of this because I know a lot of people probably couldn't join the stream, is leave something in my comments down below, whether it's on the DSD to PCM conversation, whether it's on the Liric 2 conversation, but also just, you know, what would you guys like to see from the channel going forward? Maybe something that I haven't covered or covered as well, or just differently. Maybe something I did a while ago you'd want me to rehash. You know, I'd be more than happy to do that as well. Hairdryer trick with the pad seal. Heat the pads up hot with a hairdryer and put them on your head. No, I honestly had not heard that till you just said that. That's interesting. No, I haven't tried that. I probably won't. Honestly, I'll be sending these back tomorrow. But I'll notate that because that's an interesting one. I did cut my hair, and I actually, on my audiophile video that I just dropped this past week, which you guys check it out if you get a chance. Only 6 minutes. Bree and I had a lot of fun doing that. But that was one of the things. You might be an audiophile if you cut your hair for a better seal. And I actually did that because I knew I was getting the Liric 2 back in. I was like, all right, well, if I have to clamp them down harder on my head, let me just cut my hair a little bit shorter, make that less uncomfortable. And I don't think that made the difference, but it was something that I did. But like I said, so anything else you guys want to see from the channel, let me know in the chat or in the comments down below. Also, just, you know, anything on anything we talked about here today, let me know in the comments as well. I just want to get more interactive in the comments with you guys, and want to make sure I got that out there in this video to let you know that. So I'll get some chapters put in this when we do the replay of it. So, all right. Guys, I think I'm going to end this and let you all get back to your Sunday. Again, happy Father's Day to any fathers out there watching. Enjoy some barbecue. I'm in Indiana, and I got to tell you, it's 96 degrees outside. We're supposed to cook out, and we will, but we probably don't even have to fire up the grill. It is hot, and I know some places, especially down south, have been really, really hot. So stay cool out there and enjoy some music. So that's my Father's Day advice. All right, guys, thanks for watching.